What's up you guys, Chris here. I want to show you how to set up your OBS so that you can start streaming right away. So we've talked about OBS for quite a while now, and I think it's time for us to dive into a bit more detail so that by the end of this video, hopefully you'll be able to stream in no time. So let's hop on my desktop and see what OBS is all about right now. So as you can see, I have my OBS opened up. I'm using Streamlabs. I've mentioned in my previous video the reason why I use Streamlabs mainly is because I have all of the features that I need in a single software. I don't need to go in different browser tabs so that I can get whatever I want. What you're seeing is a custom layout. It's not something that you may have by default, but that can be easily changed. If you go here to Layout Editor, you can see a bunch of screens that you can opt from, and in my case I have editor display on top so that I can see however my stream is looking like, the audio mixer in the middle, and scene selector, source selector, and a website which is Google in case I want to search something quickly of how to do something or maybe something else. But again, you have a couple of stuff here on your left side that you can choose from, like legacy events, mini feed. Legacy events I think is whoever followed you, whoever, I think that's mini feed actually. But anyway, I don't really use them. These are my main ones, and you just click save changes. Now back to the editor. Before we go into actually setting up a scene, I want you guys to know a bit more about the settings that we have in Streamlabs. The first thing you'll see is the General tab. One of the things that you can select is to confirm stream title and game before going live. I find this option to be really good just because either you accidentally click go live without setting up your stream first, or maybe other reason, but I find this to be really good just because instead of setting up your stream title and game on your Twitch channel, you can change it directly from Streamlabs. Once you have that done, you have a couple of options down below on the output tab. For example, if you also want to record your streaming while you're live, maybe you want to put your VOD or highlight some of your actions in a separate video and post it on YouTube or other social platform. If that's the case, then you can automatically record when streaming, so you can leave this on. The other two options on top is show confirmation dialog when starting streams. This is kind of redundant if you have the first one enabled. If you confirm your stream title and game, you don't actually need this. The same things happen when you want to stop stream. If you don't want to hit accidentally the stop recording button, then this option might save you. And the others, I would just leave them by default. The second tab you will need to go is the stream one. Here you can see your Twitch account. When you first install Streamlabs, you actually need to connect a Twitch account as part of the installation process. If you skip that step, I think you can also go here and connect your account. There's a big button saying connect your Twitch account. But also if you want to change your account, let's say, okay, I've connected an account but it was the wrong one, you can go to stream to custom ingest, select the service you want to opt for, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, RIP, and also Facebook. And you have here called stream key. If you don't know what stream key is, that's basically your unique key for your channel. For example, on Twitch, if you go to your Twitch page, you can click here on channel, customize channel, and the first thing you'll see is primary stream key. This is the key you're interested in. You just click copy and paste it here, and then you're done. This is everything you need before actually streaming. The other tab is output. Now I'm in advanced mode just because I have a bit more detail on the same page. So what I have here is the most important thing, which is your encoder. You can choose from a software encoder, which is your CPU encoder, or the hardware one, which is your GPU. Now if you have an RTX card and you're also on a single PC setup, you might want to consider using the NVENC, the new one, specifically the new one, just to have a bit less strain on your CPU, so the encoding is happening on your GPU. The software one, which is on your CPU, is the most popular one and works really well. Now in terms of performance and differences between the two, I would say they're kind of equal. Maybe in some cases the software one wins, in some other cases the NVENC wins. It's really just a matter of trial and error. For me, for example, I find the NVENC one to work really well, so I'm gonna stick just with that. But if you don't have an RTX card, or if you're not really sure, I would say go with the software one because that works really well. Now the other options are rate control, bitrate, and other as well. The rate control, you can set it up to CBR. The bitrate, this is basically the file size you're sending to Twitch whenever you're streaming. The ideal size is 6000, but unless you're a Twitch affiliate or partner, I don't think that will work. So you will need to lower it down a bit. I would say 4500 works really well. If you have a slow internet connection, maybe even lower than that, let's say 3000, really depends. Keyframe interval, you can put them as 2. The preset, I can leave it as max quality. If you're having frame drops or your stream is lagging, you can lower it down a bit, maybe to quality. Anything lower than that is just not worth it. Profile on high end, and the max B frames you can put it to as well. On the recording tab, this is where you would save your recordings whenever you stream, if you're recording your stream. The recording format is MP4, I think that's the default. You can just leave it as that. Rate control CBR, bitrate 6000, and yeah, you can set it as fast. In this case, the lower it is, the higher the quality, because it takes a bit more time to render all those pixels. So you have to make a balance between CPU usage and GPU usage. If your CPU is constantly at 80%, I would make this a bit faster. I would say anything lower than medium, it's a negligible difference in terms of quality, so I would just leave it as fast as being the lower option. And the others, you can just leave them as default. Now the next tab is the audio, and this is basically having your mic input. Again, if you have an RTX card, you can take the benefits from the RTX voice program, which removes any background noise. For example, if you have a mechanical keyboard and it's really annoying to hear all that clacking during your stream, RTX voice takes care of that, so you can choose that. If you do not have an RTX voice, then you can just use your actual microphone, whether that's your built-in microphone from your webcam or from your headphones. But again, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I would recommend buying a separate microphone. It will make all the difference. And the rest of the tabs are pretty much default, so I would just leave them. Let's click done. And we're ready for our first scene. As you can see, we already have a default one, so I'm gonna rename this and call it gameplay. One of the scenes you're interested in is displaying your game and maybe a webcam. To this scene, I will need to add my game. Now there are a couple of options you will need to choose from. For example, you have either display capture, window capture, or game capture. Now I've talked about the differences between these in a previous video, but I'm gonna go through them like really quick. Display capture basically captures your monitor, but there are a couple of issues with it. So let's go ahead and see what those are. So I'm gonna leave this by default. The first thing you'll see is that I have some margins, and I'm not interested in displaying OBS. So two issues here. First of all is the resolution. In my case, I have an ultra wide monitor, so the default resolution is a bit bigger than that. So I will need to crop this out. And the second one is because it's display capture, it displays your entire desktop. So if you're playing a game but also want to transition to another program, let's say you want to adjust the volume or maybe go to OBS to see how your stream is going on, especially if you're on a single PC setup with a single monitor, then anything you're doing is going to show up in your stream, and that's not ideal. So I'm going to leave this. We're not going to use this. I'm going to remove it. The second option would be game capture. This is an automatic AI that detects your game. I found this to not work as expected. Sometimes it discovers your game, some of the times it does not. I'm not exactly sure, but because it's a bit iffy, I would say at first ignore it, or maybe test it properly before actually going live. My recommended one is window capture, because you specify exactly what window you want to capture, and in your case it's going to be your game. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to call it game and add source. Now by default it's going to have the settings page, and in the background I have Dead Space 2 running. I'm going to select that, and there you have it. I have my game here. But the resolution, it's still not really good. I still have those margins, but that can be easily fixed. If you go back to settings and to video, you have the base resolution. Now this is my native resolution of my monitor, but you're interested in choosing the first one because that's what Twitch players are displaying. So I'm going to choose that, click OK. And again, this is a bit too big, so I'm going to transform and fit to screen. There you go. My game is done. All you need to do now is add a webcam. Now before we do that, I want to lock this. You see this little lock icon? This basically says do not make any more changes to my game. Actually, I have moved it a bit, so I'm going to put it back and then lock it. See, it can happen, so better be safe than sorry. You also have this visibility toggle. If you don't want to show it, you can just click it and the game disappears. If you want to show it back, click it again. Okay, now let's go add our webcam. We're going to add our video capture device, add source. I'm going to call it webcam. I'll leave everything as default, click done, and that's it. I'm going to put it here on the side. Now, as you can see, I want to resize it, but it doesn't let me. I have seen this issue before, and have no fear, the solution is here. All you need to do is go to Layout Editor and drag this editor display into your editor display screen. Once you do that, click Save Settings, and then boom, you can see the resize button. And now you can easily resize your screen. Actually, not your screen, your webcam. By default, it rescales automatically both height and width. But if you only want to rescale the height, you have to press Shift, and then as you can see, you can resize it however you want. So I'm going to put it a bit up and leave it like that. Good. And just lock it. Another thing you can add to your stream are some images. Maybe you want to display your name or your Instagram or something else entirely. So we're going to go to add an image. I'm just going to leave it as image. And let's say I want to add the OBS logo displayed in my stream the entire time in my lower left corner. And that's it. That's how you display any image you want. Now my webcam looks a bit boring, so I'm gonna add some corners to it. And for that you will need some PNG files. Why PNG? Because those files preserve transparency and you want that image to not cover your webcam but only add some sort of edges to your webcam. So for example, I have one already set up. I'm gonna call it webcam overlay. Add source. I'm gonna add this one. And we can drag it all the way here. Now the overlay is a bit big, so I'm gonna resize it just a bit and pressing the Shift key, and I'm done. Looks pretty nice. So that's pretty much it. I think you're ready to go live with your game. But before you do that, you might want to add a second scene. For example, when you're finishing your game, you might want to add an ending scene. So let's go ahead and add a second scene. I'm gonna call it ending. Click done. And I want to add an image saying the stream has ended. I'll call it ending. And that's it. Now your stream has ended. And you also have a second scene. Between the scenes, you will have a transition. By default, the transition, you would say there's no transition, but actually there's one called cut. That's basically what's happening. It's all moving all of a sudden, but we want the transition to be a bit more smooth. So I'm gonna edit scene transition, here the little button. And you can see the global transition, by default it's cut. I'm gonna add a slide effect. Click done, and it will look like this. Not bad. If you want the transition to be longer, you can set the duration to a second. And now you can see it's taking a bit more time to complete. And that's basically it. You're ready now to go live. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find it helpful, and if you have any questions regarding how to set up your OBS, or maybe have some questions regarding what I've done, write them down in the comment section below, and I'm more than happy to reply to all of them. Also, if you like this video, make sure to click the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and I can make more of this type of content that will help you have an awesome stream. Until next time, peace.